this particular healing that I experienced was after I had been sick for 4 years, very sick, getting sicker every year. It started kind of mildly with like I was having colitis from all the stress I had had in my life, not to mention the normal stress, like the divorces and deaths in your family and different things that we all struggle with, financial things. Stress comes from a multitude of areas in all of our lives, not just one. And so it was overwhelming for me. And having gone through seeing extraterrestrials, having the Lord appear to me, seeing angels being taken out of my body, having just so many bizarre demonic things happen, I was a very stressed child, grew into a stressed adult somewhat. I was handling it and maintaining, but things were happening internally because of all of it. And so in 2000, while I was in management, I was working. I started getting sicker and sicker, in 1997, 98, 99. And by 2000, I was so ill. I had not only contracted just colitis, but also Crohn's disease, which was a combination of both. And most doctors will say that's impossible, but it happened and it was diagnosed. That's what I was diagnosed with, both. And my large intestine, which is the big large intestine that goes into your system, was like hamburger. It was fully diseased. And I was bleeding rectally. Every time I would use the restroom, there was a ton of red, dark blood for about 2 years, on and off. It would be real bad one month and then not so bad the next, and then it would be horrifying. And the pain was off the charts. I would have to just, shake and shiver. Oh, it was horrifying. And I was getting very weak and losing that much blood. And I was always drinking and sucking on ice and trying to get moisture back in my body. And I was getting weaker and weaker to the point where I couldn't even sit up. Sometimes I would be sitting like this and my body would start falling. And I was told by the doctor, Teri, you have waited too long. This is going to go cancerous. You've got to get that large intestine removed immediately and, get a bag put on you. And I said, oh, no, I'm not doing a bag, And I said, I want to interview surgeons to find out what are my options. So I interviewed 6 surgeons, found an option with one of the greatest minds that was in Tampa, at Tampa General in 2000. And I had a subtotal colectomy. And this subtotal colectomy, which had been not a huge success for me because I had a bleed that they couldn't find, and the pain again was off the charts. It was an 8.5-hour surgery, and I lost the feelings in the tips of my fingers. I couldn't see. I couldn't handle color. I was always in dark sunglasses. I mean, there were so many side effects. The surgery done, and it was an 8.5-hour surgery. And there was a problem arose. And when I came to, I was in so much pain. I was trying to get through 1 second to the next second to the next second, and it was really a horrifying pain. And they kept me on morphine and a lot of things for a week, and I was still in some serious pain. And that surgery, you're cut from stem to stern, and it was real difficult. So after about 4 months, no, I'm sorry, about 6 weeks, they brought me in for a second surgery to repair the pain. And so they cut me all open again in that fresh wound, and we started it all over. And they were trying to find where this bleed was that they had found. And they found it, repaired it, sewed me back up. And again, I'm in unbelievable pain. And so that pain was so severe on my right side that I couldn't wear jeans. I had to wear everything that was real, stretchy and, so I couldn't dress in normal attire any longer. And I'm not a complainer. So I just said, okay, this is my new norm. It is what it is. This is what happens. You have to just accept it. And so my new norm was that I wore real big fat clothing that didn't restrict me, so that the pain would eventually go away, which it didn't. So 2 years later, it was starting finally to subside a little bit. It was more doable. And I just said, okay, I had prayed for the Lord to heal me. I didn't get healed. So, okay, fine. So in 2012, I had this in 2000, and in 2012, I'm going to bed that night like any other night. Of course, all my nights are different than most. I have very strange experiences all the time in my life. But this night was just a normal night, and I jumped in bed, and in the middle of the night, somewhere around 4-ish, 3:34-ish. I don't even know, because I don't know. But I know it was very late. Um, I heard a voice call my name, and I'm very accustomed to hearing my name called, because the Lord has called me many, many times and woken me and taken me with angelics to the, destinations of his choice to tell me things, or, this kind of thing. It's actually not unnormal. So I didn't know who was calling me, and I rolled over, and to my shock, shock, was this 4-foot reptilian hybrid looking kind of thing with these huge jowls, and very colorful, very colorful. And I thought, wow, that's crazy. How can I see so clearly in the dark? And I thought, no, that's weird. Why am I seeing so clearly? But I could see him, like there was more light in the room that should have been in the light. Now, there was a light outside the bedroom window, which brought light in. So it was never dark. But I could, things were different. They manipulate things. They do control things. It's very strange. But I was looking at him in my fear. And believe me, I was scared, because this was very weird. And he was very close to me. I'm on the bed, and here's the edge of the bed. And there he is. And I'm staring at his body, and I can see all these colors and these little hairs on him. And I won't go into all of it, because it is quite in depth. But the outcome was, he looked very much like a reptilian. He had a shorter snout, but it was long. I didn't see a mouth. I didn't see nose holes, no ears, just this head. And he had these circles around his eyes that were mostly black with red in them, a lot of red in them around the circle. And I made note of that, and I kept trying not to look into his eyes, because it was, I know, don't look into their eyes, And he had in his clawed hand a device. I didn't know what to call it, because I don't know what it was, but it was a device that had a straight, like it was straight, but there was a Y at the end of it. And this Y was all curled up, and this one had like a little suction tip on the end of it. And they were kind of grayish in appearance and very long. Okay. I'm just showing you on this. It's a pen, these are my fingers, so I can't show you, but it was very long. And this thing was coiled like you would see in a biologic fern or something, and in nature. And the other one had these little suction things on it. And it reminded me instantly of the talon on an octopus. And I thought, whoa, gosh, what the heck is that? What in the world, Lord, And it is always my personality. And if you knew me, you would know I always talk to the Lord 24/7. Even if I'm talking to you, I'll say, "Oh Lord, now what?" Or I'm always bringing him into my conversations, and as I did even that night. And I thought, "Oh, come on now," But what is this? And I was very fearful. And he looked at me finally, and I looked up at him finally. And like I said, this is a big, long story. I'm bringing it way down so it doesn't take up too much time. And he had this wand in his hand, and he said to me, "Be still." Now, I knew that was mental telepathy now, because I understood mental telepathy now. And I thought, am I moving? I didn't know. Was I trying to move? I wasn't sure, because they do manipulate things. And so I was very still, and it went inside of me vaginally, and it went to that area in my in my stomach, and it wrapped itself around this thing in my body. And I felt heat, pressure, and this vibration like zzz, and it got stronger and stronger and stronger, and it got tighter and warmer and hotter and tighter, and the vibration and warmer and tighter, until I was like, oh my God, this thing is going to explode in me, and there is going to be blood all over my bed, all over my sheets. I was really scared. I didn't know what to think. I had been through some pretty bizarre freaking things, but this was taking the cake, and I was like, you got to be kidding me, Lord. You know, what in God's name is going on here? And I didn't understand it. And I was ready to get out a scream. I couldn't take another second of whatever was going on here. My eyes were closed. I had my hands up like this, and I was just getting through that moment. And as I was ready to scream, I felt it kind of releasing. And I don't know how long I kept my eyes closed, just sitting there. And all of a sudden I opened my eyes and he was gone. And I couldn't get up out of bed. It was like I had been anesthetized somehow, some way. I don't know how. I don't understand everything. I don't know everything. And so I didn't want to get up. I kept thinking, get up. I didn't. I just didn't. My body was like overruling me. And I thought, okay, that's weird. My mind is telling myself to get up, but I'm not getting up. And my husband was sleeping right next to me. And I thought, why didn't he wake up? You know, but then I realized, well, I didn't scream. You know, I never screamed. You know, I heard him call my name. I rolled over. I was freaked out. This happened. Now I'm just laying there. Well, he got up. I heard his alarm go off. I heard him take a shower. I heard him have his breakfast. I heard him get his keys. I heard him start his truck outside and take off and go to work. I still laid there. I didn't get up till like 4 hours later. And I finally got up, and as I was walking around, I was like, what? Oh my gosh. And I made a fist and I hit myself and I went, oh, I'm healed. What? What? You know, what, Lord, come on. You're the only one who heals. These things don't heal. What is this all about? And I thought, oh my God, I'm totally freaked. So I called some of my friends at MUFON, which is the Mutual UFO Network, and I talked to two very prominent, world famous people, Kathy Martin, who is the niece to Betty and Barney Hill, and then Denise Stoner. And I called them both, and I was talking to Kathy first. She talked to me and told me to call Denise. I called Denise, and Denise walked me through it and said, did you get a sample? Did you take a swab vaginally to see if you caught any kind of DNA or anything? And I said, no. You know, I was in shock, literally. And she kept saying, Teri, I think you're in shock. You're not talking right. You're not acting right. You're not understanding right. This isn't you. You know, I think you're in shock, honey. So go get a swab and take a sample and put it in a plastic bag, throw it in your freezer. I knew to do this, okay? I'm a trained, certified field investigator, but I didn't do it. And so I had her tell me what to do because I just wasn't thinking right. And I told Kathy, I'm going to go to the hospital because I'm still having the vibration. It's very strong in me. 6 hours later, and I said, I can't take this vibration anymore. Kathy, I'm going to go to the hospital. And she goes, Teri, what are you going to tell them? Oh, yeah, I had a visitor last night at the side of my bed, looked like a reptilian, yeah, and I heard this vibration, and, I felt this vibration, and I felt this pressure and this heat. You're going to tell them that there? And I said, oh my God, Kathy, you're so right. People are not going to understand this, and they're not going to believe me. And she goes, don't go to the hospital. And I went, okay. So, I didn't, and I reported it, and, to MUFON. But I didn't report it to the police or to a hospital or to doctors or anybody. And 7 years later, I'm on the board of directors with MUFON, and one of my fellow board members calls me and says, Teri, didn't you have a swab that you threw in the freezer 7 years ago? Do you still have it? And I said, I do. I said, it's still back there. It's probably frozen to the back of the freezer, and I said, I forgot about it. And she goes, well, we have a lab now that if you take this to that lab, send it to them, they will be able to, download the information off that swab and start doing a DNA check on it. And I said, okay, great. So they sent me a kit. I did my DNA in one kit, and then and of course, I'm a sterilization technician, excuse me. And so I know how to do, this type of thing. But in the kit that she sent me, it had all the protocols on how to do it properly. And I was very, very careful to follow every direction to a T, being a sterilization tech. And so I sent it off to her. And 2 weeks later, she called me and said, "Are you sitting down?" And I said, "Why?" And she goes, "Teri, sit down." And I said, "Okay, can I put you on speaker so my husband can hear this?" And she said, "Yes." And so she said, "Your swab is showing proteins. I have never seen so many heavy proteins on something 7 years old." And she goes, "And there's something else really odd. It's got like a pond kind of a swamp kind of a register." And she said, I want your permission to use the rest of this swab." And I said, "Okay, whatever works for humanity, let's do it." And she said, "But once I use it, it's gone." And I said, "I understand, so please document it very well. Use it wisely." So she cut it up again. And then she called me back and she goes, "Teri, there's 2 signatures very clearly on this swab. Yours and another one, unknown." And I said, "Unknown how?" And she said, "Unknown, I don't know what it is." But she goes, "There's pond water in this." And I said, I don't get it. I don't swim in ponds, And so she said, "Well, will you give me the permission to use the final piece of this to see if me and my fellows can find something else out about it? I want to get others involved in this." And she said, "It's really very curious." And I said, "Yes." So I signed all the papers, I sent them to her, and she did all that. And what came back was there was a match to a reptilian, but it was a Salvatore Marianae lizard that only comes from South America, which is the only lizard that can change its heat vibration in its body. And it has these clawed hands and huge jowls. When she told me that, I almost fainted. No kidding. I was like, oh my God, this is what I reported in 2012. And I'm like, oh my God. Here we are 7 years later, and they're finding out that the very DNA that is on that swab is something that they can now identify with a actual tegu lizard, and it had the same identification all the way across. So I have I presented at the MUFON Symposium. I've been in many books. I've done 100, interviews about it. And there is now that proof that is on file, and we're waiting for others to get some kind of reptilian proof. Are these things real? Yes, they are real. Yes, that really happened. Yes, it was freaky, and it was very difficult to live through. And it was so bizarre. Not even if I heard somebody else tell me that, would I probably believe it. So I don't mind what others say or, about me or the experience. I can totally understand it. It's very similar to when I had a couple actually full-bodied apparitions. Those are incredibly rare, and yet I've had 2 very powerful experiences with them. And I don't care what people say. Yes, those things can happen. The demonic realm is very real. The spiritual realm is very real. The angels are very real. I have seen angels in my home appear. And I know people cannot understand that unless it's happened to you and you have experienced it. And people say, well, how can you wrap your mind around that? And I said, well, I don't know. But I had a friend who had a very severe accident in her car. Another car T-boned her. I can't relate to that. I have never been T-boned by another car. I have never been in a crashing, glass breaking, spinning around, rolling car on an interstate. but my friend has. And she goes, Teri, I can't relate to what you're saying. And I said, but I can't relate to what you're saying. Do you see why the experiences are so very matter-of-factly important to each one of us and how we live through it? You know, my grandson was killed on a motorcycle. Before that happened, I could not relate to deaths on the interstate. I can now. Experiences are what take us to that next level of understanding and knowing. And I know that might sound extremely simple, but it's the truth.
Absolutely. And one of the things that I wanted to dive a bit deeper onto was we started, talking at the beginning, and you just mentioned it, that the demonic realm, unfortunately, is very real.
Yes.
Now, when we have naysayers in the comments, one of their arguments when we have NDEers share their experience, there will usually be something very positive, or a meeting with somebody in the family that is deceased, or sometimes the creator or God or source, whatever they want to call it. And the experience will be very positive. It will be about love. However, there will be always a few comments that say was just a demon trying to manipulate you and trying to steer you away from God. Now, because you have so much experience in this area, and you have also seen the Lord, and you've had a whole array of experiences, I'm wondering, how do we know if we have an experience, and if somebody comes to us, or if something comes to us, how do we know that they're being truthful? How do we know if we can trust the people, the apparitions, the entities coming to us, or the experiences that we're going through?
Right. Good question. And I have an answer. And, okay, if we look at it from a spiritual perspective, what is the spirit? Define the spirit. Do spirits wear clothes? No. Why would they? They have no need of them. They're light beings. They're evolved. They're within us. And once we leave this body, we don't take the body, we leave the body, and we go out, and the spirit that is within us goes back to our source. So, who's your source? Now, that's a question you have to ask yourself. But the difference is, when people see these grandmas and grandpas on their bedside, is it grandma and grandpa? Are they wearing clothes? That's your first red flag. Okay. When my grandson, who died on the interstate from his motorcycle doing 128 miles an hour, and it flipped. No, I think it was 182, possibly. It was a huge motorcycle. Well, he died when he cracked his head and he fell down, and his, spirit left his body. And I heard him say to me, "Oh, Grandma, I really messed up." And I said, "It's okay, Brandon. It's okay." I heard him. I didn't see him standing there. When we see spirit, we actually see spirit. Like I said to you when I was telling you about Jesus, 99% of him had a shape, but I could see through him because he came to me in the power of the spirit of who Yeshua is, and yet it was other than us, than me. He is an all, man but spirit being. And then there's the Holy Spirit, who is a man, not a dove. He's not a bird. Everybody thinks the Holy Spirit is a bird because they see the dove. He's not a bird. That's just a symbol of what he is. He's a person. He's a man. And God himself is a man because they said we're going to create men, meaning men and women, in our image. So we look like them. But their spirit We're flesh. Jesus came down, Yeshua came down to be the flesh that dwelt among us. So we have to understand the spiritual realm, and it's a very, very intricate and deep level of understanding. When you're going into it, it's like an onion, they say. You got to peel all these levels to get to what you're actually, getting to. So spirits can speak to us. They can talk, and audibly. They can audibly speak to us. If you see these huge orbs, and I have seen many orbs, that's spirit. I'm not talking about dust flying around in the room, something this little big. I'm talking, the orbs I saw were this big with light. And these things are different. These are the powers that be from the spiritual realm. When the apparitions came to me of my grandmother, we did talk to that, fully clothed. And she was a very wicked woman in this life to my mother. And so I knew that this was a demonic that was taking form to lure me into a conversation with that spirit, utilizing the outward appearance of my grandmother. I rebuked it and cast it out of my house, and I did it in a very angry and powerful way. I wasn't about to listen to it. The other full-bodied experience that I had was of a man I was engaged to, and he came to me many years later, standing in my room, and I said, "John, how did you get in my house?" He was standing in my bedroom doorway. And I mean, if I would have got up, I could have given him a hug. He was a 100% human entity, full-bodied. That's what that means. With clothes on. He had Hirachi sandals. He had a t-shirt on and a pair of blue jeans with one of those 70s types belts that used to hang, because that's what he wore. And this was in the 90s. But yet that's how he appeared to me, because I knew him in the 70s, and that's how he looked then. Now, isn't it interesting? They use someone that is near and dear to you within your heart, in the heart of your soul. They come to you to draw you into a relationship because they want to possess you. This is how possessions happen. Are possessions real? Yes. And I have to share this, going back to scripture again, where Yeshua was walking in the Gerasene tombs. He came across a man, one man, who was throwing himself on the ground and rolling in the fire and acting like he was having an epileptic seizure of sorts. And the man said, "Why are you here? What do you have to do with us, Son of God?" Those demons know who he is. They don't think, "Oh, gee, is that Jesus?" They know who he is. And because of the power that Yeshua has. So they know when he's even in the city, they know he's there, doesn't matter where they are. And he said to him, "Who are you?" And the man said back to him, "We are legion," which shows that one human being can have a legion of demons within that body. It reminds me of maggots in a dead carcass. It reminds me of worms in a little kitten that have to be dewormed, or a dog. This is how many can live within the human body. And so when we say, "Oh, people can't be possessed," oh, but they can. And what does possession look like? What possession looks like is attitudes, anger issues, depressions, argumentative spirits within that person. All these things are coming out of the mouth. In the scriptures, it says it's not what you put in your mouth that defiles you. Like if you want to eat a biscuit, or if you want to have a piece of pizza, or even a steak, and God forbid you're vegan, a piece of broccoli. Okay, so what goes in your mouth does not defile you. It's what comes out of your mouth that defiles you. And that's because of what you've let into your being. And this is why people fight. This is why we have wars. This is why people get married. They love each other for a minute, but now they've let in all this stuff, and that's not who you married. Wake up call. This person has let in all these things by Ouija boards, by spiritisms, by sometimes even just demonic music they listen to. There's so many. This is a very deep rabbit hole to go down. How do we let them in? There's so many ways. Adultery, lies, just cheating, on our taxes, stealing, cursing people, fighting, being ugly, being jealous, being hateful. These are how these demon things come into us. And they what? They mold your personality, and this is what you're known as. People will say, oh, that girl that lives down there, oh my God, stay away from her, Or, oh, don't get involved with that person. What a nightmare. Or what a drama queen. Or how sick is this person? They're always slandering people. They're always cutting everybody down. And like I shared with you earlier, Sabrina, that's just jealousy. It's immaturity. It's immaturity, but it's jealousy. And jealousy leads to hatred. And these are like gluttons, these huge people. God bless them, I love you. Don't hear what I'm not saying. I'm saying you've let these demons in. That can cause gluttony, that can cause hate, that can cause adultery, that can cause alcoholism, drugs, my gosh. They take you faster than most anything else. And they kill the innocent. You don't even know. You're doing it because, oh, this is fun. This is different. No, it's not. It's disobedient. You're not supposed to be living like that. But you're blowing your money on it. And, now you can't afford to feed the kids, or you can't afford to pay the rent or get insurance on your car. Where does it all lead? It's all so clear. It's all so very, very simple. It's that path we were talking about. There's all kinds of, rabbit holes off that narrow path, and we're all free to take them. We're all free. Don't judge anybody, because trust me, we've all done something that, we're all guilty. I'm guilty. I was an adulteress. Not anymore, but I was. And, I don't drink, but I used to like to drink. I drank, more than I probably should have. I'm not a big druggie, never was, but that doesn't mean I didn't try stuff. Those are all things that we need to learn. Come away from those things. Don't subject yourself to those things. If you want to be wise, seek truth. Seek love. Love. The consciousness of love. I feel like I'm being attacked right now. Like I can't talk all of a sudden. Interesting. Mm-hmm. Whenever I start doing this, the attacks start coming. I love it. Yeah, I love it. Because it means it's working. Somebody will hear this and it will take effect. So the enemy is always angry. All of a sudden, just like that. Isn't that crazy? So I rebuke it in the name of Yeshua. My heavens, my eyes are watering. There is a way to protect yourself, and it's powerful, and it is a choice. It's a decision. We will go back to the decision. It's a decision that each one of us has got to make. We have got to choose to do right. And then we also have to make a decision to let God intervene, because we are living in a realm of spiritual happenings all around us from many different avenues. Like I said earlier, demonic, angelic, spiritual, even extraterrestrial, many, many things. But there is no one more powerful in our lives, ever, ever, or for millions of years, who has always been here and who created where we actually are. And, you know, his name is I am, the great I am. He is all knowing, all powerful. He is without beginning and without end, that eight eternity. He has no beginning, he has no end, he always was. Our minds cannot conceive that. He is higher than us. His ways are much higher and above us. But he created Lucifer, who is the fallen angel, who is the demonic realm's leader. And so who do you think we should go to for help? Where else could we possibly go? I can't help you. I'm a human. I'm a sinner, just like you. Everyone else out there is a sinner, just like us. But where can we go? I'm not going to the angels because the Lord said, I'm a jealous God. I'll have no one before me. Oh, okay. Well, then guess where I'm going? I'm going to the great I am. I'm going to I am. I'm going to the Father. And I'm not going anywhere else. And I won't be happy anywhere else. And my decision is God the Father. And I believe that his Son is his living word. He became flesh and dwelt among us. I believe that. And I also believe that his Spirit, when he went to sit at the right hand of the Father, was left here as our what? Comforter, to comfort us. In what? Why would we need comfort? Because we need comfort to overpower the evil one. We need power to overcome the demonic realm that exists here with us. And this realm is real. It's very real. And I'm often attacked because I do a lot of interviews and podcasts about the power of God himself. And the enemy hates me. That's okay. I hate him, and I mean him harm, a lot of it, and I will deliver whenever I can. Whenever I get an opportunity, I'll deliver, because I'm not afraid of him. Because fear and faith have something in common. You can't see either one. I choose faith. Others choose fear. I don't live in fear. I live in faith. And when the enemy comes, it's my opportunity to let him know who I am and where I stand and who I stand in. And I find great power in that. And many things have happened in my life that have brought me to a place where I had to walk through absolute fear. But I had to persevere and get the victory over that fear. Fear had me, as it does many, really gripped. Couldn't even shut the lights out at night. You know, I mean, I couldn't be alone sometimes because I never knew what was going to happen, because I never knew what was going to happen. And I couldn't trust anything until I came to God. Now, when I feel something coming at me, and believe me, I do, it comes a lot, I stand in my faith, not fear, and I rebuke it in the name of Yeshua, and it's gone. It cannot stay in the presence of God. That wickedness, that hate, you know, that fear cannot stand in the presence of a holy God. It cannot. And that's the only answer. You can't go to psychics. I don't mind psychics. They're all on their journey. They're learning too. They will come through it all. I don't mind the spiritual realm people that get caught up in just consciousness or just this or just that. They're on their journey too. We're all on a journey, but this is where we're headed. And I thought, I just want to go there. I don't want to be here. I've been here. I've walked through the psychic realm. I've walked through the conscious realm. I've walked through the extraterrestrial, off-world relationship realms. I've walked through angelics. I've walked through demonics. I've walked through spiritual things, and I have overcome. And in the scriptures it says, he that overcometh what? He that overcometh will I make a pillar in the temple of my God. Now, what is a pillar? A pillar is something very strong, very firm, very powerful. You know, it can take it. It can hold and support. I'm a pillar. I'm happy to be a pillar. And I know there are other pillars of faith and strength. And this is where we need to go. And in these near-death experiences that all of us have had, many of us have like negative experiences. But it's okay. Don't give up because it was negative. It's just something that God is trying to show you. This is where you are. This is who you are. Rise above that. Fight through it. You know, keep asking, keep seeking, keep knocking. Get through it, overcome it. And many of us that have had the powerful one-on-ones and we've seen God or we've talked to people in the heavenly realm, which I have, but not in that one experience. The Lord came and took me to the heavenly realm, and oh my gosh, I was just talking to my husband about it this morning. It was amazing, off the charts amazing. And I had to come back. But while I was there, the love was unbelievable, almost hard to put into words. It wasn't love that we understand here, because here our understanding of love is so limited because we don't live in it the way that we will in the spiritual realm. And so believe me when I tell you, we don't want to come back here because we know what this is all about. This is the land of the living, the land of decision making. If we're going to live for all eternity, but I have 72 years here so far. I'm 72 now. So all eternity, 72 is a drop in an eternity bucket, okay? But however old you are, if you're 21 or 28, I don't know. You know, you look young. But I'm saying, what is that in the length of eternity? And so what do you really think you can glean here? What can you know here? Keep striving to know and to learn. And I believe that this is what all people will tell you, that the love of God is worth what we go through. It's worth whatever happened, the accident that took us there, you know, the explosion that took us there, the drowning that took us there. For me, it was adultery that took me there. You know, we all come to that near-death experience from many different angles. But the outcome is knowing God and finding out that the enemy, Satan, is really real. And those demonics are alive and well and seeking us out. So, you know, there's that.
So we really need to look after ourselves. And to me, it's a message of being stronger in your faith than ever. And if anybody needed more confirmation about doing the right thing and pondering what the right thing is when we're at a crossroads, which we often are at,
right?
Just figuring out what is the right decision, what's, you know, the decision that points towards love and not towards harm.
And you know, that is such a good statement you just made, because what does it look like to be at that crossroads? And what do you actually do at the crossroads? Because we all are always, throughout a day, we are there. And this, I know, it doesn't matter about what the crossroads look like or what situation brought us to the crossroads. Stop and just start praising God. We enter his gates with thanksgiving. Start thanking him. Thank him. You know, I just thank you, Lord. I am at this crossroads again. I am here again. I know you must laugh at me when I'm here, but here I am, and I don't know what to do. So what do I do when I don't know what to do? I pray. I just pray and stop and say, help me. I don't know what to do. I'm at this crossroads, and I can either go here or there. I either need to do this or that. I either need to purchase that or that. What do I do? Help me. Give me wisdom. I need you to interact with me now. And he will. Something will come to your thoughts. Some people, sometimes I've actually heard audible voice speak to me. Other times I've heard it come in a thought. Other times nothing will come right then, but I'll sleep and have a dream. Other times I'll just see, he pointed this out to me. Or someone will actually come and say, Teri, you know, I can see, I really feel like the Lord wants you to take a look at this. It comes in a myriad of ways, but it starts with that crossroads when you don't know what to say. You have to know what to say when you talk to yourself. You have to know what to say when you talk to yourself, because your heart is listening to what's coming out of your mouth from your mind. You've got to learn the right thing to say when you talk to yourself. And that right thing would be, I'm just going to praise God and thank Him for this moment that I don't know what I'm doing. And I'm going to ask Him to intervene and help guide me in the right direction. Whatever glorifies God, whatever works for you, works for me, God. It's going to work for me because I've made that decision. The decision is made. It is not up for discussion. It is firm and final. Just like when He hung on the cross, what was His last words? It's finished. And it's finished for me. It's finished. I now know it's finished. My decision is firm. And my decision is whatever He wants, not what I want. And it says in the scriptures, not thy will, not my will, but thy will. So there you go. That's what we say when we talk to ourselves. Not my will, but thy will. So show it to me, because I don't know. I tell them all the time, I'm not the brightest star. I'm a little worm, and you got to keep your eye on me, because sometimes I get tempted, and you got to keep your eye on me, Lord, And He does. He keeps convicting me and saying, stop saying the wordy dirds. Sometimes I get mad and I'll yell out, SH something. Or I'm not perfect, okay? Don't think I'm perfect here talking. I'm not. I struggle every day just like you do. I put my panties on just like you do, And so it's always a decision every day. But every day He gives us new grace for the day. Every day. It's amazing, really. And I'm not being preachy. I'm being honest. These aren't my words. It's just what works. I'm just sharing what I know and what I've been walking. And I know a lot of people don't want to listen to this because it might sound, oh boy, that's way too spiritual for me. Well, that's your decision, and you're free to make it. And I don't judge you because I'm not the judge. But I do want to say this. There is a judge, and actually He will judge us all. Because one thing I guarantee you, I don't care if you're the richest man on earth or the poorest man on the planet. When you die, your grave looks just like that rich man's if you're poor. There's no difference with graves, and no casket has a luggage rack. You are not taking your wedding rings with you. You are not even taking the clothes on your body. You came naked, you're going to go naked. So make your decision now where you want to go, because eternity is a real place. Listen, I have been in it. I've experienced little portions of it. And I tell you truly, it is true. It is real. And you're going to want to make that decision before it's made for you. And by making no decision, you've made a decision. I mean, I love life. I'm glad I'm here. I'm glad He kept bringing me back, because why I had to come back was to say these very things. That's why I'm here.
Have such a powerful message, Teri, and I think we've only gotten, we've already gone over time, but I feel like we've just gotten a very small glimpse into everything that makes up your experiences and your stories. So we're so fortunate to have you share your story with us today. So I want to thank you for being here. I want to thank you for sharing with us. And I also know that some of our audience will want to know more from you and about your work. So how can they reach out and find out more about you?
Well, you can reach out to me at, my name before I married was Teri Lynge. So it's Teri, and then my last name Lynge, all one word, Teri, LYNGE.com. So TeriLynge.com. And I recorded about 150 experiences that I've had because I wanted to pass them on to my grandchildren and my great-grandchildren. I have 5 great-grandchildren. So I would like to pass all these experiences on to them so that they know when these really bizarre, crazy things happen. Well, grandma lived through it and overcame it, and I want you to understand how that happened. And I didn't update any of them. As I was going through my learning process, you'll see I didn't always have the answers in my testimonies that I wrote down. I was befuddled in a lot of them, and I was even confused. But that was because I was only 40, or maybe 50, or maybe 60. But now that I'm in my 70s, I'm getting it. It's all, if you live long enough, you finally start figuring it all out, And like I told the Lord, I'm not the brightest star, so it took me a few, years. But I'm happy to be where I am because I do have immense peace and understanding. And this whole world, without the peace that literally passes all understanding, I can't even imagine. I can't imagine not having this as our goal. I can't imagine it. I always wondered, why does the Bible say, he that hath an ear, hear what the Spirit is saying to the churches of God? Why would anybody ever say, he that hath an ear? We all have ears, but not all ears hear. And he that hath an eye, see what is happening. Why would you say that? We all have eyes, because the Spirit is speaking to us who have a spiritual ear and a spiritual eye. The world does not know him, and they cannot know him. And let me just say this in closing. No one can know the great I am without going through Yeshua. Until you go through Yeshua, I don't care if you're Jew, Gentile, or anything else, you have to do it this way. That's the way that was made. No one comes unto the Father but by Yeshua. So if you come to that, all of a sudden your eyes are unveiled, and he that hath an eye will see. And all of a sudden he that hath an ear will be able to hear. You cannot hear or see until you follow that direction and make that decision to follow Yeshua. Not going to happen. It's impossible. That's why we cannot judge one another. I can't judge somebody if they don't even know. Like, I didn't even know. And I couldn't figure out why I didn't know, but I didn't know. And until I found out, then I knew. So we can't judge one another. We always have to say they don't understand. What did Jesus say? Forgive them, Father, they don't know what they're doing. They can't get any clearer than that, could it?